Welcome to the Get Found Radio podcast. This is the show for entrepreneurs that are ready to get found and land clients so you can live your purpose. Here's your host, Jared Warner.
All right, Sheri, welcome to Get Found Radio.
Thank you, Jared. And I appreciate the opportunity, really.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. So we were talking a little bit before we hit record, so we'll let the listeners in on that conversation. If you would, tell us what you're trying to create and where you're trying to go with it. In other words, who do you help and how do you help them? And if that's a problem that we need to address first, where are you at with your business now?
Well, I'm kind of in a weird place because my business has two facets. And on the one hand, it's the accounting I've been doing for decades. But then the other side is writing content for websites, newsletters, what have you. And I've been trying to find a way to present the two as a cohesive unit. And I thought, well, I'm kind of unique because I have this technical side, this analytical side, and this creative side. And then somebody said to me yesterday, oh, well, that's what most VAs have that. And I thought, oh, geez, so now I'm not unique anymore. But somehow there's a uniqueness that I'm not seeing, I'm sure. And in that, it's like I was telling you, there's so much information out there. And you see, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this. But you don't see that all the things you're seeing that you need are just the tip of the iceberg.
Definitely.
And there's so much that you have to do that's underneath the water, if you will, before you get to that point that people can actually see.
Right.
And in my case, a lot of that is, ideal client. I thought I had it narrowed down. I'm looking at entrepreneurial women over 40, maybe even over 50, who are doing something that helps other people, and that's their focus, is to help other people. But the more I get into it, the more I hear, no, that's not enough. You need to get more focused. I have been trying, in fact, working with a group I just joined to try and narrow down my story, if you will. What is it you offer? And then they say, well, you have to come up with this 5-word tagline. And for me, that's extremely hard because the running joke with my daughter is that I say everything in 10,000 words or more. So to narrow down what I do into 5 words is really tough.
Well, you may like this take or not. I think you will. I personally don't subscribe to putting anybody or any situation in a box. So when you said you've got to nail it down to like 5 words, I hate that. I can't stand that. And I hate formulas where they go, this is the formula, we're going to fit you into this formula, and you have to just rack your brain around making this formula work. Just throw that all out. And anybody who is saying that is only doing so because it's probably worked for them. It worked for a couple other people they told it to. And the bottom line is it's really easy for them to scale that up, to tell others to do the same. And so they don't have to do any work anymore. They just have to tell you this really cool thing that worked for them. And then you have to do all the work to fit into their system. Well, they can make the money. And I can't stand that way of how it goes. So I'll get off my soapbox now on that one. But let's work on addressing one thing here. Now, as much as you would want to merge the two, the writing and the accounting, I do see them as potentially the same client, but they're absolutely different clients. Those are two dramatically different needs, which once they know you, whether they come in through the accounting part or through the writing part, you could introduce that in a subtle way and say, you also do this. So your accounting clients can know that you're also a ghostwriter, and your writing clients can know that you also do accounting. But I don't know that I would present them under one roof outside of that. So in other words, if they're very warm traffic, like they're a client in one of those buckets, totally easy. You just, you're having a conversation, and that's just what you also do. You can put it in the signature of your email. You can do all kinds of things that let them know, but I don't see those as being on message when you put them under one roof to cold traffic.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, I actually do have separate hire me pages on my website for them, for each. They're not combined.
Okay, good. So that would work. And now if you had to pick one, could you?
To be honest, no. And here's why. I have learned, as in the last 4.5 years that I have not been working for the man, if you will, that I need balance. I have an ADD brain that just runs amok. And having the creative side and the analytical side in my life is actually critical. So there are days when I can just sit down at the computer and just bang out copy like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And other days where I just need something that's, almost, to me, I mean, because I've been doing accounting for over 30 years, it's like I can almost do it in my sleep.
Yeah.
And unless I get into something where somebody's got kind of a tangled set of books, which again is something I really am good at, is untangling a set of books that's just a mess. I had a friend who used to tell me I was the queen of the books from hell. But it's so, yeah, I do need both sides. I do enjoy both sides.
Which is totally fine. So I'm not in the camp that will tell you have to pick one, and if you want to grow, you can only focus. I don't necessarily subscribe to that theory either. I kind of am counterintuitive on a lot of things, and so maybe that's one of them. So I think it's totally fine to do both. Now, if you've been doing that one, the accounting, for 30 years, you're probably have systems and processes and stuff where client acquisition and the overall business flow and messaging and how that works is, my guess would be, it's on its way, and that's already like something we probably don't need to focus a ton on in this conversation. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes and no, because over the years I've worked with either like really small companies. I had an optometrist for a while, and I had a company that did like specialty gifts for corporations, and now I'm working more with there's basically one that was a brick and mortar, was a plumbing contractor, and one that's she's got a variety of businesses, mostly online type of stuff. So I'm trying to get more into the market of the entrepreneurs who are really, really busy and don't realize they're like chasing their tails, and and of course the first thing that slides is keeping up with their books.
Oh yeah.
And they may not realize that going along with keeping up their books is, that they need monthly reporting to see where they are. They need to help, somebody to help them create a budget so they can, plan ahead. Right. It's, like I'm saying, I need my goals and then the steps to get there. Well, the financial aspect of it is so important for setting up goals when you are an entrepreneur, when you are a business that you want to grow. And that's the market I'm really struggling to tap into.
Okay. So I think the best way to tap into them is not through the accounting part. I think the best way is to tap into them from the writing part, and regular content production, I think, is totally attractive to them. A second, follow-up conversation can speak to the books. And I think you'll get, two birds with one stone going that route. Because I think that's just one conversation you can have when you're going through the process.
Right.
And I think it would be really easy once you've built up that trust, which it's easy to build up the trust on the writing side.
Yeah.
And then whereas the accounting side, getting accounting clients it's easy when they really need it and they raise their hand and they're looking for it. Like searching for it on Google around tax time, very easy. Aside from that, everybody worked with somebody last year, and it's like a hard thing to switch. It's like you're, barber for men or a stylist for women. Like once you have that person, you're kind of there. And so it's harder to pull somebody away, like assuming that they all have somebody that they worked with for last tax season.
Right.
it's hard to pull them away from that person unless you built up trust doing some other stuff. They go, man, that's so great. You do taxes? I didn't even know that. Yeah. Hey, so what would this look like? And I think it's a much easier conversation, and it's a lay down sale once you've built the trust in the other area. And that's one thing that no other CPA could take from you.
Okay, let me take a step back here because I'm not a CPA, so I don't do
bookkeeping.
I do the accounting. I mean, keep you up their books and records through the year, and I can, sales tax, property tax, payroll tax, things like that. The one
Gotcha.
thing
you keep them organized so they don't get hammered at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I give them, I'm really good at customizing sets of books because, even though there are, certain categories that you see on the tax return and all of that, a lot of business owners want to see certain things that may not be standard or aren't standard, but are specific to what they are doing. They want to see like a certain expense broken out in a way that's not typical. They want to see their income broken out into different categories that take into consideration maybe their product line or the different services or whatever it happens to be. And so I'm good at getting into that, into making something that is meaningful to them instead of just a bunch of numbers on a P&L.
Right.
But you're right. Accounting requires a huge level of trust.
Yeah.
Because nowadays everything's online, and one of the things I'm doing is downloading transactions from bank, credit card, PayPal, Amazon accounts. And if you don't trust somebody, you're not going to give them access to that stuff.
Right.
And I get that.
And so I have built campaigns for accountants, and we could talk at length at that. But I think your path to cash is quicker going the writing route, assuming you have a passion for that.
Oh shoot, yes. In fact, I call my website A Passion for Writing because that's really
cool. So in terms of writing, what type of writing really lights your soul on fire? Like if you did that every day, when inspiration strikes, say several times a week, what type of writing would you be doing?
I love writing about success stories and self-improvement and reaching out and helping other people grow, authenticity. That's a big one because when I write, it's one of the things I like to do, not only with myself but with people I'm writing for, is to dig into who they are and help them express that.
Are you okay with doing that about yourself?
Oh, gosh, yes. If you ever take a look at my blog, I do it all the time.
Okay, here we go.
I'm very, very open. I'll write about things I'm struggling with,
cool,
or things I've struggled with and found a solution to. Frustrations. I mean, as I said, I'm really pretty transparent. Writing about my own path, if you will.
Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to land you some clients doing that then. One thing that you can and should do is be putting out regular written content about yourself and about, whatever inspiration strikes. And I would do it 3 or 4 times a week easily. If you can do it every day effortlessly, then do it. If it feels like a job, then scale back.
Okay, what I'm doing right now is that I'm posting to my blog site on Wednesdays and my website on Sundays.
Okay. Can you do more than that if it was shorter form? Because how many words are you doing on your blog?
Let me write something short. That's going to be interesting. My average post is probably about 1,500 words.
Okay, that's good. That's totally fine. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to build up Facebook and LinkedIn and leverage your writing skills hard. And you need to update your profile and make it look like, writer for hire, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that needs to be calls to action. That needs to be everything you do. So when people think of Sheri, they think she can write for me and produce regular content, and I don't have to do it, and she'll make me look really good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you want them to think of you, but you need to build your audience in order to do that.
Yeah. So
you can do that on Facebook with there's a Chrome plugin. Do you use Chrome as a browser?
I hate Chrome.
Well, Chrome, unfortunately, is the one that has the marketplace with all the cool plugins that make your life easier. So you can use it just for that part and get out and go to a browser that you like more, like, whatever the browser is that you like to use. There is a plugin called Toolkit for Facebook by PlugX. And I'm going to link that up in the show notes, and I can send that directly to you if you like.
Okay.
But it'll be linked in the show notes. And it does a whole bunch of things. But for the purpose of this conversation, we're going to talk about one feature that it does.
Mm-hmm.
And that is click all add friend buttons. So if you're okay using your personal profile, and I would strongly suggest you do, especially with the algorithm changes, it drastically favors personal profiles. At the time we're recording this conversation, that subject to change at any point because this is the world we live in. But currently, your Facebook personal profile is super powerful for business growth. And are you comfortable using your personal profile?
I've been. In fact, I do 2 Facebook Lives a week, and they are on my personal profile.
Perfect. So let's talk about how we're going to do this. So the best thing to do is to go to groups that have your ideal client in them, join the group. You don't have to be crazy active in there, but show some level of presence in there. Answer some questions, post, when you join, they'll usually tag you and say, tell us about you. So answer that. Answer questions where relevant and where you can add value, but you don't have to spend a ton of time there. In fact, I don't spend almost any time in any group anymore. I just got too much going on.
Yeah.
So, but one thing you can do is you can click members on the group, and it'll show you all the members. Then it'll show you members that are like close to you, members that have things in common. So they could be in other groups. They could have tons of friends in common. This is your low hanging fruit. And then you just open that plugin and click Start Tool, and it clicks Add Friends. So it'll do that all for you, and it takes like a couple seconds. And then it just adds all of them. Now, I personally set the delay on it so that it takes like 10 to 15 seconds between clicking the buttons, so that Facebook knows or thinks that it's not a tool that's doing it. Mm-hmm. And then I go into another tab and just do other things and let it work, and then go back and then do it again. So it'll do it all within your view. But you can add 50 friends a day, and the objective is you need to be speaking to a bigger audience.
But don't the group owners get kind of annoyed when that starts to happen? They
won't know unless somebody reports that, Sheri added me as a friend. She added me as a friend. She added me as a friend, But if you're not, overly salesy, and I know that you're not going to be, then it's okay. What they don't like is when you add them, then send a direct message with just a canned sales pitch.
Yeah.
Copy and paste it to every person. That's the worst thing in the world. Nobody likes that. So don't do that, and you wouldn't anyway. But don't do that. So anybody listening, don't do that. What you do is you just show them who you are. So they're an ideal client. You don't have to sell them anything, and add them, build your audience. Now your objective is to get to 5,000 which is your max of hopefully your ideal client. Now how many friends do you have currently?
400 and something, I think.
Okay. So you've got a ton of room to grow that. So friends and family, keep them there. And oftentimes your friends and family are the ones that are your biggest supporters on your post. So you can filter them and put them in a group. I always advise not to. Some people just cringe at the thought of their family seeing their business stuff. I don't. I post to whoever I'm connected with, and whoever sees it, sees it. Mm-hmm. And that works for me. If that doesn't work for you, just filter them out. But I will tell you the benefit of having them see it is they will like, comment, and share. And when they do that, it shows Facebook that people like what you're putting out, and then they show it to more people.
Right.
So don't take it away from your biggest supporters. And in doing that, what you would be doing if you did filter them is you're only going to be talking to a cold audience, and you're avoiding your warm audience, which in the marketing world doesn't make sense. So don't do it in in your Facebook post.
Well, if nothing else, they're the people who are commenting on my blog post, because everything I post automatically throws up a link on my social media.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So keep doing that, and then but you've got to have a bigger audience. So it's going to be hard to make any traction when your audience is 400.
Mhm.
Are you using LinkedIn at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'm not overly active there. Like I said, most of what goes up from me is links to the latest post. Every so often, I'll comment on something somebody did, and I'm in some groups, but I haven't really been active in them.
Nobody's active in LinkedIn groups.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Whoever, if you're listening and you're active in a LinkedIn group, shoot me a message, but maybe I'll stand corrected. But I don't believe there's any active groups.
Now, here's the problem, though. I did actually join a number of groups last year, and thinking, okay, this is what I want to get into. And what I ended up joining was some of the entrepreneurial groups, and then I left them because there was no activity. And I ended up with a lot of coaching groups. Yeah. But unfortunately, as a writer, I'm learning that is not the best place to be, because most of these coaching groups want to sell coaching. They don't want to buy anything. And
that's only the bottom of the barrel. So, and with coaching, there's it's the 80-20. So 80% of them are making little to no money, and the 20% that are making money hire people, and that's why they're making money. Like you can't do this on your own. You can't build a successful business on your own. You have to hire, you have to spend money, you have to build a team. There's no way around it. And the ones that are successful do hire. So with coaches, it's going to be 80-20. So 80% of them aren't going to be making any money. Now, what type of stuff would you be producing for them? So it would be like regular blog content, that type of stuff?
Regular blog content. I could help them with their newsletters. And trust me, some of the newsletters that come out make me cringe.
How about writing a book?
I haven't really thought that far ahead. Big
money in it.
Yeah, more because I haven't published anything yet.
Yeah.
Than anything else. And I found out, I went to writers conference in February and found out I need to completely revamp the 70 or 80,000 word memoir that I wrote.
Wow.
Because I wrote it. Well, I wrote it in the order of my healing process, if you will. And I started at the wrong point, as I discovered. And so anyway, long story short, it needs to be revamped. But
now in terms of writing one for entrepreneurs, all you would have to do would be interview them a couple of times, and then that would probably give you a good starting point. You can go over the starting point with them, and you can charge a good amount of money. I mean, there's people that are charging like 20 grand, but there's people that are regularly getting $5,000. And if you can pump out words, I mean, I don't know how average book is going to be, entrepreneur book's going to be 120 pages or less. So I don't know what that is, 20,000 words or something.
Yeah. So
if you can do some numbers on that and ask the right questions that triggers your writing brain, that's a huge revenue source.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you could instantly add 6 figures plus to your business just by doing that.
Right. Again, though, how do you get people to be willing to pay you for it? I see all you guys writing books, but
yeah. So the first thing you have to do is talk about the power of writing a book, or leverage yourself into somebody who's already doing that. And there's all kinds of people that are writing books. So there's groups of people who want to write books. And so those are people that you could add to your profile, and you could talk about writing a book and how, writing is your strength and all that stuff. Because there's all kinds of people who want to write a book. I was at an event once to speak to this. I was at an event once, and they asked how many people want to write a book. And it was an entrepreneur event, and almost every hand went up. And
Mhm.
Funny thing, my hand did not actually go up, and my book just launched 2 days ago. So my hand did not go up, but almost every hand, I would say over 90% of hands went up. And then they said, how many people have written a book? And almost every hand went down. So just about every entrepreneur wants to write a book. They feel they have a book in them, but they don't know how to do it. They don't have the time to do it. They don't think they can do it. Or worse than that, they're going to do it someday and they're confident of it. And someday never comes.
Well, and then again, there's also the fact that for many people, I know my daughter's right there up there with them, is to even have to sit down and write 1,000 words is daunting.
Yeah.
And for me to write 1,000 words is like nothing. I mean, I've done 3 NaNoWriMos, which is 50,000 words in a month.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. And I like doing one of my one night alone, I knocked out 8,000 words. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, but it's just, well, it's like anything else. When you're doing what you love, you get into a zone, you know? And
so who would you love to write books for? Is there a certain type of entrepreneur that you could take that same level of passion? Because you can easily write that level of content for yourself. So it would be harder, I would guess, with certain niches and certain entrepreneurs.
Right.
Can you pinpoint it to like this niche? I could write, 80,000 words a month easily.
I think it has to be somebody who is in the business of helping other people.
Yeah.
But whether that, I'm like I said, I'm starting to wonder if the coaches business is really it, as at least from my experience. And I mean, I'm not at all in tiny groups. I mean, I've been participating in Vanessa's group and in Tosh Corbin's group,
Yep.
both of which are not exactly tiny.
So Vanessa's group, I think, would be a good group. That's full of, the quote unquote healers or the woo woo space, where majority of people in there are in there because they want to help people and they want to make an impact on the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of your potential clients are in there. I also think majority of them have not written a book.
Well, I have posted offers in her group before.
Yeah.
And she's the only one who took me up on it. And it was a small offer. It was just, write a couple of short blog posts. Other than that, I have gotten nothing out of that group because they're all so busy trying to sell each other coaching.
Right.
Oh, you have to have a coach.
Right.
Like, no, I don't have to have a business coach. But, I was talking to people at the writers conference and they said, your money's better spent on a good editor than a coach. And I have to agree with them.
Yeah. Well, depends on depends on where you're at with your business and where you're trying to go, but different conversation. But I would strongly suggest adding tons of people from that group and groups like it into your personal profile, connect with them, and start to position yourself as, I can write a book for you, I can write blog content. There's a lot of people who don't necessarily care to have regular blog content, but boy, oh boy, would they love to have a book with their name on it. Uh-huh. And the biggest thing I would say is that I'm not going to just write the book for you. I'm going to write the book through you. Mm-hmm. And if you can communicate that to them, that I'm not just going to write it and then we slap your name on it, because that's not really attractive. What is attractive to people is if they could just do interviews with you, download their brain into yours, and then you turn it into words. That's essentially their words, but you put them together and did the whole process. Uh-huh. I mean,
well, and they think
rocking business there.
Yeah, and I could definitely do that, because one of the things I love to do is help people pull out, their authentic selves and communicate their authentic selves to those clients that they want to reach and to the people they want to reach.
I think this. Do you feel comfortable with that? I mean, I feel like this is your business.
I feel terrified.
Business. What terrifies you?
That committing to writing a book for somebody else.
I think you only have to take it on if you feel that it fits and you're passionate. And I would strongly say that I do not work with anybody who's willing to work with me. And I think that would give them comfort and say, I only want to take you on as a client if I feel like I can deliver an awesome book that is in your words and that you would be proud of. And if that doesn't fit, I'll refer you to somebody else, or I'll just wish you well on your journey. And I think that messaging, from what I know of you, would be really comfortable because you're not selling them anything. All you're doing is seeing if, two worlds can come together and produce something awesome for the mutual benefit of you and them. And that's it. There is no sale taking place unless you both agree that you're both pumped up about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I would kind of lean heavy on that. And, I would work hard on your profile on LinkedIn, and I would work hard on your profile on Facebook, and start producing content, written content, in that way, and your Facebook lives. Like, have you written a book? Why haven't you written a book yet? That kind of thing. And lean towards the power of it. And I would also pull people in from groups that are associated with it. And I would connect with people who, and I can connect you with one that work around book launches, because a lot of them are just on the strategy of a book launch. They're not writing the book for you. They're motivating you, kind of giving you somewhat of a process, but then it's they're not writing it for you. Uh-huh. So if they had a referral of somebody, that might just fill your pipeline right there.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. Definitely, there's a lot to be said for almost like creating your own network.
Yep.
Where you all feed into each other's pipelines.
Yep. And I have a referral for you for somebody who could probably fill your pipeline for you as a writer, and for them what they do. Very complimentary.
Okay.
So there's lots of them around there. PR people could be one. If they're working with, there's some of them that only want to work with people who are passionate and driven and, mission driven and all that stuff. But they're working with clients that don't have a book. They would all prefer that they worked with somebody who had a book. It makes their job a lot easier, especially around launch time.
Right.
When the book comes out, then they can easily help them get interviews and get seen. But a lot of times they're like, well, I don't have a book. And well, what can you do? And like, okay, well, they're going to take them on as a client. But if they had that tool, so you could be that resource that helped them help their clients.
Well, and there's a whole big, a network out, because there are people who do like the formatting for all of the different media, the Kindle and the Amazon, because that's a whole little niche in itself.
Oh yeah.
Who are able to do that. There are, the editors and things like, and the publishers, or the self-pub people and things like that.
So the editors might be an okay source. They would be probably a better referral from you to them.
From me to them, right.
Yeah, and not necessarily from you to them, but they could be. If they're really well known as an editor, then people might talk to them about the writing process, and they go, well, I don't do that. I just edit the finished product. But you could talk to Sheri. So it's possible they probably just wouldn't be your number one referral source.
But on the other hand, I would like to have some editors in my little stable, if you will, that I can use.
Right.
People I know I can trust.
Definitely. Yeah. So let's talk about how to build your profile up. So I'm going to make that one connection. I think this is going to be the majority of the referrals you get, is to get ingrained into that community. Into those communities, I should say. But the other one is on LinkedIn. There's another Chrome plugin, so you can use Chrome only to build your network. It's called Dux-Soup. There's a free and a paid version, and it's Dux-Soup, S-O-U-P. And it's a Chrome plugin where you can automate the connection and the sending of a message. So like why you're connecting with them. So you can build up your LinkedIn profile there. How many people do you have on your LinkedIn profile?
That's a good question. Hang on a second. Probably less than on my Facebook, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So that's going to be the biggest thing for you. So we talk about three phases on this show typically: get found, get results, get smart. For you, the biggest focus right now is going to be around getting found, because I don't think enough people know that you exist, and the ones that do might not know you in this capacity. So your get found is to build these audiences, and you want to build 50 a day if you can. And that might seem excessive, it might seem hard. If you miss a day, that's fine. Back on the horse, 50 a day, both platforms. So if you can do that, you will build your audiences super quick. Then you'll start building more engagement, and it'll work. Producing regular content with that messaging. I would change the bio to, I can write a book for you. Have you ever wanted to write a book? I can write it for you. It's more affordable than you think, and all the language around that, and people will raise their hand for it. I think it's a topic that people will voluntarily speak with you on. Going through the process of writing my book, I got so many messages and so many people who wanted to talk to me about the process. And I've been thinking about doing it all the time. And I don't do that. Mm-hmm. And I got flooded with messages.
Wow. So you wrote it yourself?
I wrote it myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got absolutely flooded with messages about it. And still am. Woke up to more this morning. People want to know about that whole process and stuff. So if you're doing it and you're raising your hand about it, it's like, it's just fish in a barrel.
Yeah. And I say that's something I just haven't seen. I love, it's just like I said, it's been very frustrating for me because I can't seem to get a foothold anywhere. And everything I've tried has been either nothing at all or very, very limited. And like you said, I've been listening to people who said, well, this is the way to do it. And one of the things I immediately threw out was cold pitching, because cold pitching feels slimy to me.
It's done. That's and if they do it, they're the digital equivalent of cold callers.
Yeah.
Where they call you at dinner time and your house phone way back when.
Yes.
There's the digital version of that. So these are the same people who thought that was the great method for business growth. Mm-hmm. They've just taken their game online and they're doing the same thing. It's just a digital contact, digital touch point now. But forget that. That's like awful.
And you know what? I'm very skeptical when they say, "Oh yeah, I'm making six figures and I'm this and I'm that." When they tell me this, in fact, the
most
best,
of them aren't.
No, the best way to get me to tune out is to tell me how much money you're making.
Right. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would leverage around that. I would do a Facebook Live and say, do you want to write a book? And I would talk about that. Uh-huh. I bet you'll pick up business right now. Just post that. That's the subject. And so put it on both places. When you click go live, there's like two places you can put it, and just the title and the description.
Oh, yes. I do typically.
Yeah. So just, do you want to write a book? And then just talk about that. Okay. You go, the hardest thing
outside of my normal ones, because I do one I call Live with Sheri and Friends, but it's late at night. 2 nights a week.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that when we get off here, or later this afternoon, and just say, have you thought about writing a book? And what is your struggle with writing a book? Why, if you've wanted to write a book but you haven't written a book, why? And it's all going to be around writing. I wouldn't know how. I never, I don't have time. And like every potential objection to why they haven't written a book is answered by your service. Mm-hmm. So the only thing is, if it's important enough to them, and if you are passionate about it and that you want to write the book for them, and if they can afford it, and if they can afford it only comes down to if they see the business value in growing it. So I would get some stats around that, around the importance of that. And, if there are people that are in a competitive niche, a book is a differentiator. It's a big
it's funny because I see, people like Vanessa and like Michelle, and they're all, even books they put out 3 years ago, they're still promoting and saying, this really made my business grow.
Oh yeah. It's big time. So you can find quotes from people that talk about the power of the book. Find somebody who's like super successful and find a quote that they said about how the book changed their business trajectory. And I think honestly, it's that simple. Grow your audience and make that offer, and then just make it with the caveat that you don't want to write a book for everybody who's willing to work with you, that, you know, you're only looking for projects that you're passionate about and they feel good about it. And there's no sales pitch involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, I'm looking to do this for people that are a good fit and that they agree. And that's the route I would go. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm straight. I'm making lots of notes here.
All right. Of course you are, because you write. Okay.
Oh yeah, I write excessively, and I just one of the things I picked up at the writers' conference was I was talking to a gal, because I'm working right now on getting my memoir out. Was a gal who's big in memoirs, who's actually down in San Diego, and I bought one of her books that has daily writing prompts, and it's she's another one who has I've been doing morning pages for a couple of years now, where you just hand write 3 pages. And I've really become a fan of filling up notebook after notebook with just thoughts and ideas and
it helps your mind work.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what happens when you're writing by hand. It's slow compared to what I can do with typing, because I can type about 130 words a minute. So
me too.
I get an awful lot on a page there, but so it's considerably slower, because I'd say it takes me about 10 minutes to fill a page longhand.
Right.
And, like I said, it's considerably slower, but on the other hand, it connects a part of the brain that doesn't connect when you're typing.
So I think you do that and then tag me in that live stream and I'll share it. And then I'm going to make that connection for you. And we're going to get you traction right now. There's no reason there's no reason you shouldn't start making sales this month. You could pick up 2 or 3 clients this month easily.
So basically what I'm getting here, and I'm going to kind of summarize where my brain is at here, is that all of this, creating this algorithm for my ideal client and these little blurbs and this definition of what I do and creating a landing page are not really at the top of the list at all.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I would build your audience on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I would casually make that offer. Just talk about it, write content about it. And honestly, it's that simple. I think there's such a need for it that's all you need to do. There's that quote from famous copywriter Gary Halbert, where he asked everybody if they could all have one advantage in business over their competition, what would they want? And so there was all kinds of things: pricing, service, all this stuff, the best sales staff in the world, all of this stuff. And he said, I will beat all of you with this one thing: a starving audience. That's what I want. I want a starving audience. So in other words, people who are so hungry for your product and service that there's just so much pent-up demand that there is no competition. You can't even fulfill it. And that's where you're at with that, if you position it correctly. If they believe that you're the one and you're passionate about them, it's a game changer. I would be surprised if you didn't land at least 1 client this month. That would be phenomenal.
That would be phenomenal. I mean, I'm so sick of not having work. It's just, even though, the leisure time has been nice, but I'm done. I'm just done. I want something that not only keeps me busy, but sparks inspiration. And entrepreneurs are my favorite people, because they are passionate about what they do. They are driven, and they have an energy that you don't find in people who work for somebody else, or who just kind of have a job, or that's not a career, that's not their love. It's just something they do to make a living.
Definitely. Well, let's get you working with them. So that's your task I'm giving you today. Do that Facebook Live and let's start that process. Change your bio and then just start moving that direction. Get a clean headshot. You don't have to spend a ton of money. I've got tons of them, and I haven't spent hardly anything on them, and that's been a difference maker. You show up professional, and that's been a game changer.
I could probably get my daughter. My daughter's actually a decent photographer. And
utilize her. It doesn't have to be super pro. I do have some that are super pro and they look good, but I have some that are from people who can take decent pictures, and that's it. They're not professional photographers. It wasn't done on a crazy high end camera, but you get that, and then get your profile set up, get a header image in all those platforms, and go for it. And you will land a client this month. I'm positive.
Well, it's good. I won't be able to get her to do it because, as I said, she lives down by you. So
yeah, when you can do it, put that on top of your priority list. And
I'll make her bring her camera. We're going on a cruise in a couple of weeks. I'll tell her, bring your camera.
There you go. All right. So, do you have any other questions while we wrap this up?
No, you have been. I mean, you filled in some blanks I didn't even know were there, and
awesome. And
took me out of this endless loop of, oh my gosh, I need to learn how to do this because I have to have this in order to and
play to your strengths and keep it simple. That's how you build a real business. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Ignore that 5-word thing. I hate that. All of that. Don't fit in anybody's box. You create your own. You're a writer, write for people, go for it.
Well, and you're right, because with all of this, I felt like a square peg and trying to fit into a round hole.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this has been fun. This has just really taken me to a whole new level. And
awesome.
I said, I didn't approach writing a book because, like I said, I was scared to do it. I always thought,
so's everybody else. You're their savior. You could write it for them. You could write it for them 10 times faster than you could write it for yourself, because you're just writing, have those conversations, those interviews and all that stuff, and just pump out books for them and get paid.
And I have done some interviewing. Some of my articles I was doing with a food photographer for a while. We'd interview chefs and things like that. And, so it's not foreign.
Yep. All right. Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing your success. If you get on that this month, I promise you will land a client.
Oh, you bet I'll get on it. I need to do a couple things and clean myself up before I do a Facebook Live today, but I will definitely get there.
Awesome.
Thank
all right.
You
looking
so
forward
much.
to it. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Get Found Radio podcast. If you like the show, please hit subscribe to listen to some amazing upcoming episodes. We would also love if you left us an honest rating and review.